My name is Britt Bierstrom, and I'm an acolyte here at St. Thomas. I also serve on the vestry. When I was asked to discuss stewardship this morning, I started to think about this story that Father Davis likes to tell the catechumen class, a story about the Welsh poet R.S. Thomas, whose poetry describes a life of faith as the life of a lover on the ground below the window of his beloved, longingly tossing these little pebbles up toward the glass, desperately hoping that the lover will hear them and respond. And his pebbles are the prayers, and the beloved is God. And people see him they pass him by, and they think, what are you doing? These pebbles, day after day, nothing is happening. And I would have given up, the poet writes. I would have given up, but for the one time, through laced fingers, I saw the curtain move. And to the people passing by, the prayer and the waiting don't seem to make any sense. And I love this, because how often does a life in faith and a life in a community like this just seem to not make, by the vocabulary of the world, a lot of sense? As Father Davis was saying, during the week when I'm not at St. Thomas, I work at a major studio here in Los Angeles. And a couple of weeks ago, I sat down with my team of editors to try to cut a trailer for a movie that's going to come out based on a Bible story, which always makes me exceedingly nervous. And we have to sit and think about the narrative and what are we going to show and how are we going to get people to come and see the film? Who's the hero? Is it the lead? Is it the foil? Is it the romantic interest? And one morning, one of my editors looks at us and he says, the hero is kind of God, isn't it? But we can't use that. And I had a moment which I'm sure is very familiar to many of you here, particularly those of you of the very polite Episcopalian variety, where out of nowhere, the source and substance of quite literally my entire life is revealed in a place and in a time when I did not expect it. And I could think of nothing to say. I went home that night thinking about how heartbreakingly often we put God over here and we put human lives over here, and in the space between we fill it with politics and war and misunderstanding. What can one say when religion has been so abused that to speak of it seriously and thoughtfully in public seems to create us so many more enemies than friends? But we are still here. We dare to build a church in that space, and as we grow it and thrive in it and live into it, we come to recognize the fact that we are not just filling a space between God and humanity, we are collapsing it. And we start to recognize the fact that there really never has been, since the coming of Jesus Christ, a space between God and humanity at all. God's creative work is our lives, and our lives are God's creative work. And when we're in the midst of a stewardship campaign, we have a blessed opportunity to take a very careful look at what that work looks like and what we will do to make sure that it continues to thrive. Just like God, all of us here accompany one another through all of the moments of our lives, some significantly prettier than others. We celebrate new life anointed in baptism. We welcome one another at the table of the Lord in the Eucharist. We celebrate and rejoice when members of our community make commitments to one another, promising that they will love one another forever. We sit vigil with one another through unspeakable pain. And we celebrate even the departure of life, because in this faith, even death is a piece of this remarkable holiness. We are called to be stewards of one another and one another's lives. We become the lovers on the ground, tossing up the pebbles of our prayer, and not just that, here we toss the flowers and the incense and the music. And sometimes people walk by and they don't get it. But sometimes they join us. Sometimes they join us in making our home below that window of the beloved. They join us in rejoicing in that collective memory that is the moments we have seen the curtains move together. And I have seen them move here. I have been here for 2 years, which I know is not very many compared to many of you here, but I have seen them over and over again against all reason. And you know, it is this parish, actually, with all due respect to R.S. Thomas, that has taught me something, and that thing is that I think he might have flipped the story. We are the beloved, and God is on the ground, desperately yearning for us to hear him in the pebbles he sends up towards us, in his sacraments, and in the dozens and dozens of ways he tries to delight us every single day. This place will be the place that gives us the courage to maybe, finally, someday, dare to draw back the curtains of our own safe little rooms and our safe lives. We welcome you gratefully to this campaign and to this parish, to this family. And I'm so looking forward to the work of opening that window together. Thank you.
Thank you.